The Fox City Score chapter and WHBY are pleased to bring you Biz Talk, a chance for you to hear from entrepreneurs and professionals as they share their experiences from starting to sustaining growth. Learn the skills needed for your business to be successful. If you missed anything, you can catch the Biz Talk podcast at biztalkwithscore.com. And now from the Myron Construction Studio, it's Biz Talk on WHBY.
Good morning and happy Saturday, everyone. I'm Rick Sense, and you're listening to Biz Talk with Score on WHBY. My co-host today is Terry Pinch. And Terry, it's great to have you back in the co-host chair. I was kind of ribbing you last week when you weren't there, or 2 weeks ago. And so I hope you didn't listen and I don't think you did because you're still talking to me. So
No, I don't think I did. I did download the podcast, but it's still sitting there on red.
Well, you call me if you have a problem.
I will.
All right.
Great, Rick. Looking forward to the show.
Yeah, all right. We're very fortunate today. Our guest I've known for quite a while, and he's very interesting. He works for a very interesting organization. His name is Dustin Delsman, and he works for Plumbers and Steamfitters Local 400. And I guess, Dustin, welcome to the show, first of all.
Well, thank you, Rick. Happy to be a part of it and thankful for the opportunity that we have in front of us here today. Looking forward to the conversation.
All right. So I'm going to ask, because some listeners out there, I'm sure, are very well aware of what you, where you work and what you do and that, but there's going to be some that don't. So I'll just start with the basic. What is Plumbers and Steamfitters Local 400?
Yeah, great question, Rick. So in a nutshell, UA Local 400, what we do is we operate what's called a referral system. And that supplies qualified manpowers to our over 100 signatory contractors. That referral system is skill-based. There's no seniority that takes place there. It's basically we're filling manpower calls, Rick, on a non-discriminatory basis. That's what we do day in and day out. That's our number one job as officers of the local.
And so you are a union. You're part of a larger union. Could you maybe walk through that structure a little bit for listeners too?
Yeah, that's accurate, Rick. So we are part, the letters UA, I mentioned that just before. So the letters UA stands for United Association, and that's our international parent union that covers all of the United States and of Canada. And that's comprised of over 350,000 members, Rick, in the plumbing, pipe fitting, pipe welding, marine, shipyard work, service technician fields. All those members make up the UA. So Local 400. We cover 18 counties here in Northeast Wisconsin. So those familiar with the area, if you can think of Marinette County, that's kind of our up on our northern end, up by the UP of Michigan, all the way down the lakeshore to Sheboygan, Fond du Lac, and Dodge counties, and then kind of draw a diagonal back up to Marinette County. So that makes up Local 400. It's 18 counties. So literally, Rick, we're covering 25% of the state in those respective industries.
So what are the benefits of members that your members receive in Local 400?
Yeah, so some of the benefits, Rick, is, and maybe most important to those listening, is an all-expense paid training entity. So we're headquartered in Kaukauna. All of our training happens there, and whether you're a day one apprentice of a 5-year apprenticeship program or a multi-year journeyman or anywhere in between, you can always sign up for classes. Take those classes at no cost to you other than your time. And it's a way for you to A, learn, and B, continue with maybe it's continuity of credits, or maybe you want to hone in on a certain welding process. Again, the contractor that's employing our members, whoever that may be, they're the ones that are picking up that expense for the instructors, any consumables, books, papers, materials. So that to me is what I consider a benefit to the members. Is that ongoing training that they have access to. Another benefit would be a pension program that we have. So that's there for them when it comes time to retire out of the industry, out of their career. They themselves, their spouse, if they have one, any dependents, they have multiple options to pick from, Rick, when it comes time to retirement. And we have actually 2 separate programs in the pension area, a defined contribution and a defined benefit. So not going to get too deep into the weeds on that, but just want to explain to the listeners that there's a pension program waiting for them, at the end of their career, as well as a 401k option that they can opt into and out of throughout their career as they see fit how much money they want to put in on a per hour basis. So that kind of takes care of the retirement piece. Another benefit, Rick, back to your question, is health insurance. So once you become a member of Local 400, you will be on a contractor's payroll, but you'll be receiving that insurance benefit through Local 400 for the member themselves. Again, their spouse if they have one, any dependents, everybody's covered, no questions asked. And again, the contractor is picking up that expense and paying into that account for every hour that Local 400 member works. So we have the health insurance coverage, dental, hearing, vision, etc. So just to name some of the larger benefits I would consider, Rick, as part of being a member of Local 400.
Go ahead, Terry.
One question I'd have is how do individuals become a member of the Local 400? Is it through the company that they're working for, or do they come to you directly?
Yeah, that's a great question, Terry. So I would say there's multiple avenues to become a member of Local 400. And I'll start with our youth apprenticeship program, Terry. So we have a youth apprentice coordinator on staff at Local 400 year round, and his lane, Terry, is so narrow that all he's doing is he's working with all the high schools within our 18 county jurisdiction. And when I say working with the high schools, he's attending career fairs, he's dropping into industrial tech ed classes, working with those instructors. And not only is he talking about and distributing our information and our pamphlets, Terry, but he's actually doing hands-on presentations. Maybe it's a virtual welder or some PVC pipe that they can put together without gluing it, so to speak, copper pipe, threaded pipe. So again, it's just introducing that student, Terry, to, what is the plumbing and pipe fitting industry, the welding industry, and we will actually make them a member as a youth apprentice while they're still in high school, Terry, so that they can get a jump start on their registered apprenticeship once they graduate from high school. That graduation, getting that diploma after their senior year, that's still number one goal. But that's one avenue into Local 400 is while they're still in high school, we'll make them a youth apprentice. Another way is if they're outside of high school, they might come through Local 400, Terry. We might bump into them at a tech college in the area. They might be a referral from one of our members, but we will assist them in getting in touch with our contractors. What do I mean by that? We'll help them figure out who's maybe most busiest at the time, who's looking for some of the skill sets they might have, and then introduce them to maybe some of the human resource departments at those contractors saying, hey, here's Terry. He's looking to get into the industry. Here's his resume. Would you be willing to take a look at him and bring him in for an interview? So that's another avenue. I mentioned tech colleges. They do a lot of career fairs. We have great relationships with the 4 tech colleges in our jurisdiction, Lakeshore Tech, Moraine Park, Fox Valley, and NWTC out of Green Bay there. So work closely with those welding, plumbing, and service technician programs. So there's different veins. There's just different avenues. Sometimes they come to us as a referral from a contractor themselves. They say, hey, we just hired Terry. He's entry level. We put him in our shop to get him started. We're going to try him out and see if he's apprenticeship material.
And which is the most common? Is it pretty much spread out across all the options, or do you have one where you get most of the recruits from?
Yeah, another great question, Terry. I would say most of the recruits is what we call our pre-apprenticeship program, and that's a post-high school grad that can be 18 to 35 or anywhere in between. They might have some experience. They may have no experience, Terry, but it's a pre-apprenticeship program. At that point in time, they're not yet a member of Local 400. They're an at-will employee for our contractors. And that contractor can have them basically doing anything from sweeping the floors to stocking the shelves, running to the job sites with materials, helping our apprentices and journeymen on any given day, whether it's putting up supports, hangers, setting equipment. And the benefit to the individual there, Terry, is they're getting to know the industry, the terminology, what is a job site or a fabrication shop like? What does that day-to-day look like? And some it works out for them, Terry, and others it doesn't, and that's fine too. As you know, the construction industry isn't for everybody, but I would say that's maybe the biggest area where most of the people are coming through. Over to the youth apprenticeship program, we currently have about 50 or so youth apprentices coming in, so that's maybe our second lane that we're finding folks. And then third, and it's the toughest to find people, Terry, is those that already have experience. If they have experience and they're pulling their weight at work and they're being taken care of there, they may not be a Local 400 member, but they might be doing our trade outside of Local 400. Those are a little tougher to find and a little tougher to I guess, shed some light on Local 400, who we are and how we operate.
How has the outlook been for you to find apprentices to come out of high school, for example? You know, when I was much younger, everybody was being told you need to go to get a 4-year degree, you need to go to a university or a college. Has that changed at all from your point of view, Dustin? And how does that work, and how does that help or hurt you in recruiting folks to come on board?
Yeah, another great question there, Rick. Here's how I'll answer it. So a large part of my day-to-day roles and responsibilities, as well as our youth apprenticeship coordinator, is being out in the community, whether it's at a tech college, a high school, a chamber of commerce, career fair. It's educating those individuals out in the communities, out in the public across our 18 counties, again, about who we are, how we operate, the benefits of becoming a Local 400 member, getting into one of our trades. Back to your question, though, that seems to be a long ship, so to speak, and it's taking a little while to turn, but we are seeing it turn. We're seeing more welding programs in the high schools. I think the tech colleges have kind of always had the welding programs. But some of these industrial arts programs are coming back into the high schools. Some that were already there are becoming more relevant. They're gaining more students in there. So we're starting to see that turn the corner, Rick, and more people. We're having quite a few people, I would say over 2 per day on average per month. They enter what's called our career portal. And from there, they're basically just dipping their toe in the water, telling us a little bit about who they are, where they're coming from, what they're looking to get into for career-wise. But we're currently averaging over 2 people per day, weekends included, that are coming through our career portal at Local 400.
So what did you do prior to the role you have now, Dustin? I mean, obviously, you know the ins and outs of the union very well. I'm guessing that you probably were a member before you're in the role you're in. Is that true? And maybe you can walk listeners through your resume with the union.
Yeah, absolutely, Rick. So that's a correct statement. I was a member before, and I currently am a member, even as an officer of the local. So back in 1998 that's the year I graduated high school, and literally 2 weeks out of high school is when I got hired on by one of our signatory contractors. And at the ripe young age of 18, I worked about 9 or 10 months before becoming a local member, a local union member. That was my pre-apprenticeship service, if you will. It was about 9 or 10 months long. So I served the 5-year apprenticeship, graduated out of that, Rick, in 2004. And then I worked as a journeyman on a variety of projects across Northeast Wisconsin, everything from schools to healthcare facilities, Lambeau Field, energy and power plants, biomass energy plants, just getting a feel for not only the type of industry, the variety of industry, and then being able to work with different members of Local 400, apprentices, journeymen, and the likes. While I was a journeyman, I was also able to become a night school instructor at Local 400. So that's a part-time position. I taught a couple different classes. Those happened after work in the typical fall or spring semester. So there again, that enabled me a way to either pay it forward or pay it back to the local union. All the training that I had received, I'm able to pass that on to upcoming apprentices and young journeymen. So that was a way I could stay connected, stay tied in. I also served on a variety of committees within Local 400 as a journeyman, and just attending the monthly membership meeting, a way to stay in touch with what's going on with Local 400, what jobs were coming up, which jobs were winding down, all things happening in the political landscape. And so that brings us to July of 2019, and that's when I was appointed and selected from the membership to start as a business representative for Local 400. And that's been just a little over 5 years I've been serving in that role, working on behalf of and representing the 2,500 plus members of Local 400.
All right, we're at the perfect time for our first break. You're listening to Biz Talk with Score on WHBY, and we'll be right back.
Welcome back to Biz Talk with Score on WHBY. I'm Rick Sense, and my co-host today is Terry Pinch, and we are talking with Dustin Delsman from Plumbers and Steamfitters Local 400. But before we get back to our conversation, I'd just like to take a moment or two to talk to you about SCORE. Fox City SCORE serves an 8-county area with offices in Appleton, Oshkosh, and Fond du Lac. We have about 45 volunteer mentors, each an expert in their field, offering entrepreneurs no-cost and confidential mentoring. Those areas of expertise include IT, social media, marketing, cash flow, accounting, strategic planning, workflow, human resources, retail, best practices, and many, many others. In order to register for a no-cost and confidential mentoring session, and or to learn more about the Fox City SCORE chapter, please visit our website at score.org/Fox Cities. You can learn more about how the SCORE chapter can assist you with starting and or growing your business, and you can complete an online application for a mentoring session. Simply complete the online form and submit it to SCORE. Within a few days, a SCORE mentor will get in touch with you to set up a meeting. Remember, SCORE is no cost and offers experts who can offer you assistance in many different areas. To get started, visit our website at score.org/Fox Cities. And to support small business people, Fox City SCORE is always looking for new mentors. If you have experience that you would like to share with others, we'd love to talk to you. We welcome volunteers with experience in all aspects of business. And small business owners really need your help, and your experience can make a real difference to their success. Go to score.org/Fox Cities, click on the volunteer button, and fill out the short application. And we'll get back to you to explain more. Terry, I'll turn the show over to you.
All right. In the first segment, Dustin, we talked a lot about how people got involved with the union, the plumbers, steamfitters, etc., welding people. What about the other side of it? What do area businesses see in that they get from working with Local 400? What's the real benefit for them?
Yeah, the benefit for them, Terry, and great question. Thanks for asking it, by the way. So to kind of start off my answer, so Local 400, we partner closely with our signatory contractors, and we work with over 100 of them, Terry, on any given day. And when I say we partner with them, so collectively we invest about $3 million annually for the training of our Local 400 members. So those members, while they're on the payroll of the contractor, they're the ones who are performing the work at the end user, at the customer, out on the job site. So some of the reasons why would be the efficiency, the craftsmanship, the skill, productivity, and maybe most importantly, Terry, is the safety training, the OSHA training that comes along with it. So the ability not only to man that project, but get it done safely on time, within budget. So those are some of the benefits in using Local 400 members, our contractors, and some of the training that comes along with it.
Okay. And so how do you work? What do you do to work with the local businesses to bring them in, or what's your relationship with them? Let's put it that way.
Yeah, so our relationship, Terry, we partner with and we work with very closely an entity that's called the Mechanical Contractors Association. Jeff Gakey is their executive director over there. So we have a close working relationship with the Mechanical Contractors Association. They represent those 100 plus contractors on any given day. And so how we're providing manpower to that customer, that end user, and I'll just name a few here, Terry. Fincan Terry Shipbuilders in Marinette, Green Bay, and Sturgeon Bay, Green Bay Packaging, Georgia Pacific, Essity, and the likes in the paper mill industry, as well as the healthcare facilities, Theta Clark, Prevea, HS, some of those entities that we have members working at on any given day. So what we're doing with them is we're partnering with them on different marketing efforts. We're bringing them to Local 400 so they can see and view our 60,000 plus square foot training facility. And again, our members are learning there. They're getting their training there. And all of our instructors, Terry, to go with that, they're members of Local 400. So they're ones that, not saying they know everything there is to know about it, but they've kind of served that apprenticeship. They've served that journeymanship, and now they're the ones paying it forward to our other apprentices and journeymen. And so those are some of the different ways we're getting in front of some of these end users here in Northeast Wisconsin.
Okay. You mentioned, Dustin, some of the names of the organizations you're working with. When you work with them, are you sitting at the table helping them with planning some of the projects that they're working on, or is it something that they go ahead and do and just bring you in after the fact, or how does that work?
Yeah, so I would say it's a little bit of both, Rick. I'll give you an example. So there was a project recently built in southern Brown County. It was a biomass project. I was actually, as a business rep, and this program certainly is about me, but some of my roles and responsibilities are getting out on the front end of projects. And so I was actually attending town hall meetings when this project was looking for conditional use permits within the township. And so from there, it's creating that relationship with the end user way out in front of a shovel even be putting into the ground as to, again, who is Local 400, who are some of our contractors, and what are some of the services we could provide them, not only when the project's being built, but proactively advocating for the project alongside them in that process, trying to obtain permits to get that first shovel in the ground. So that would be an example on the front end, an example of some ongoing work. I mentioned the shipbuilding work. So we're working continually with FinCan Terry on a day-to-day basis, trying to man those 3 shipyards. And we actually have multiple contractors, Rick, not only working on site right alongside their FinCan Terry employees, but we have also some fabrication shops in Green Bay, the Fox Valley area, Fond du Lac area, one of them being Team Industries, and they do quite a bit of the maritime and shipbuilding fabrication, building skids, brackets, and hangars. Again, using an off-site workforce to build it, put it together, store it, and wait for those materials to be needed and at the ready to go in, get shipped up to whichever shipyard it may be. And then we have members that will be then taking that material and installing it on their ships.
So really the members of Plumbers and Steamfitters 400, Local 400 are really on the front lines when it comes to the defense of our country.
Yeah, we certainly are, Rick. I would say we're building a piece of freedom every day. Whether it's, again, physically on site working on those U.S. Navy contracts, whether we have members working off site on those Navy contracts, and Local 400 is proactive, again, in the legislative and political space as well. So every spring we take a trip out to Washington, D.C., and we get to meet with some of the FinCan Terry reps out there, some of the area legislators from Wisconsin, who, as we know, have offices out in Washington, D.C. So again, advocating for Local 400 as well as our contractors and end users and customers all at the same time. Without those end users, Rick, our members don't get a paycheck. So anything we can do to promote current ongoing work or work that we see coming up in the next 3 to 5 years and beyond.
Great. We're at the spot for our second break. You're listening to Biz Talk with Score on WHBY, and we'll be right back after these messages. Welcome back to Biz Talk with Score. We're glad you joined us today. We're talking today with Dustin Delsman from the Plumbers and Steamfitters Local 400, and we'll be back with Dustin in a minute. I just want to mention educational opportunity we have coming up. On September 30th, all of the SCORE chapters in Wisconsin have gathered together to put on a conference called Accelerate Your Business for Women 24. So this will be the second event. We had one last year. It was really successful. It's going to be at the Kalahari Conference Center in Wisconsin Dells. There is a small cost, about $75, but it's a full day of networking, education, panels, and presentations. And last year's event was really successful, really well attended. So again, September 30th, Accelerate Your Business for Women 24 at the Kalahari Conference Center in Wisconsin Dells. And if you go to the SCORE website, score.org/Fox Cities, you'll see a place on our front page to click and go in and register. But strongly recommend you take advantage of that. So Rick, we'll turn it back to you.
Thanks, Terry. Dustin, you've talked about a little bit about the importance of training for your members of Local 400. Can you maybe walk listeners through, the investment that you made, but maybe talk about some of the facilities that you have that are available to you to use to train the Local 400 folks?
Absolutely, Rick. Again, thanks for asking the question there. So, as I might have mentioned earlier in the program, we're headquartered in Kaukauna, Wisconsin. We're right off of Highway 41, and it's there where the membership themselves own and operate a 60,000 square foot plus training center. So, metal trades, apprentices, journey workers alike, that's where they can get extra skills training. That's where they get their apprenticeship training, day school, night school. They can get a number of United Association certifications there. As far as the building itself, again, we're investing approximately $3 million annually in the training of our members. And so just a kind of a quick tour of the building. So I mentioned how big it is. We literally have 7 offices in that building that are for the business and administrative side of Local 400. The entire rest of that building, Rick, is all for training, whether it's a classroom, a welding booth, a soldering and brazing lab, 2 different plumbing labs with a variety of fixtures in them, boilers, chillers, rigging equipment. The list goes on. But when you walk in, one of the nice things about Local 400, as soon as you walk into the main foyer there, we have displayed a lot of clear glass history cases where you can look kind of back in time, the different local unions that have made up what is now today Local 400, which, by the way, we just celebrated being a local union for 25 years. And then as you exit that foyer area, you walk into a main meeting hall, huge room, soffitted ceiling, large screen TVs in there. And you mentioned it earlier at the start of this segment. The members just invested about $1 million into the building simply to renovate it, give it an update, bring it up to 2024 standards, if you will. We did not add any square footage, but again, we moved some walls and doors around, added some windows to bring in some natural light. We were kind of running short on classroom space. We added another classroom by shifting some of those pieces and parts of the building around because we are growing. Right now, we're currently training over 400 total apprentices, with just over 100 of them starting in their first year as being a Local 400 member. So mentioned a few of the pieces and parts there. You can then enter into our welding shop area where we're operating at any one time 30 to 35 welding booths, fully equipped with Miller welding equipment. So we have a great partnership with Miller Welding down the highway there in the Fox Valley. I mentioned the plumbing labs. We have different chillers and boilers and rigging equipment in the training facility as well. So again, the lion's share of that property and that facility, Rick, is for training the membership.
I've had the good fortune of being able to take a couple tours over the years, and it is an impressive facility. And there's something on my calendar in September that I always look forward to. And I just got my invitation the other day again, and I'm trying to make it work on my calendar. But in September, you have what you guys call at the Local 400 a signing day. And maybe you can give listeners some explanation of what exactly a signing day is at Local 400.
Well, we sure hope you can attend, Rick, and see that event. But yeah, a little background on the signing day event. So for many years, we always held a graduation for graduating apprentices, completing their apprenticeship, which again is 5 years in duration. It's sanctioned with the Department of Workforce Development, but we always celebrated them, Rick, at the end of that, turning out, becoming a journey worker, and moving on or throughout their career as a journey person. The signing day event that you mentioned, we kicked that off here 3, 4, maybe 5 years ago, and it's a way for us to shine a light on these apprentices that are starting this 5-year journey with Local 400, with their signatory employer, who, by the way, is the one picking up their schooling bill. But yeah, we invite, naturally, the apprentices are there, Local 400 members are invited, but different dignitaries and community folks as well, whether it's siblings and parents of the apprentices. We'll invite folks from the legislative and political arena, both at local, state, and the federal level, to get them there to see who we are, what the event is all about, Chamber of Commerce's end users, the different CISA programs, area workforce development boards and entities. So it's an all-encompassing invite that we get out to folks that we've crossed paths with in recent history. And again, just a way to shed a light on those apprentices who are kind of kicking off their schooling career.
Okay, Dustin, in the last 5 years, we've had significant issues across industries in Wisconsin in finding employees. Has your industry experienced that as well? And how have you managed through it?
Great question, Terry. So I might have mentioned this earlier in the program in a different segment, but the lion's share of my day-to-day roles and responsibilities, as well as some of the other reps at Local 400, is, again, engaging with different folks out in the community, whether they're graduated from high school, graduated from a tech college, if they're a member or contractor referral, but it's always in search of the next member. Who's going to do our job when we go to retire? So I'll answer it this way, Terry. We've held our own in kind of that pre-apprenticeship space or area. We're holding our own. We're gaining traction in that youth apprenticeship space of the industry where we're struggling a little bit more. like others, is those that have experience. At the end of the day, it all boils down to population. So how are we, I guess, working on that to better it? So I'll give you one example. We're partnering with different area tourism and convention and visitors bureaus. And why is that important is because Northeast Wisconsin, what can we do to maintain the population that's here, Terry, but then work with different entities to make Northeast Wisconsin so attractive that individuals, families with children, hopefully are moving into Northeast Wisconsin. And then maybe there's an opportunity for our contractors and Local 400 to pursue those individuals as the next members to make up what is Local 400.
Okay. And as members, well, we know in society the last baby boomer turns 60 next year, at the end of next year, I think it is. Is there going to be a significant issue with retirements coming for this industry as well?
Yeah, I think significant might be a strong word to use. Why I say that is, again, we're building up that youth apprenticeship program. So we're grabbing those 16, 17, and 18-year-olds while they're still in high school. That's helping offset that average age as well as those retiring. And at the same time, Terry, we're not seeing a mass exodus out of Local 400. I mean, I think we're doing a good job. Again, this year alone, we have 100 brand new apprentices starting their career. So as long as we don't have any more than 100 retirees, the worst we can do is break even. And we don't see that coming now. We don't see it coming here in the next handful of years. So we can always be doing more. We're not going to get stagnant or complacent, but we are holding our own, Terry, in the industry.
And when companies like over the last few years, Fink and Terry's got some great new business. As that sort of thing happens, do they pull you in right away to help build some of that workforce capability too?
Yeah, so even though they're the end user, again, it's all about how can we partner together to get the job done. They're the ones that have the job. We're the ones supplying the manpower via our contractors, using our contractors as the vehicle. So how can we get different individuals in front of our contractors to potentially interview and hire and get into the program? How can we work together with the area technical colleges to train folks there, whether they come to Local 400 or not, Terry? They're still in the area, so how do we keep them in the area? And that's referring them to maybe a Fincan Terry or a paper mill or a healthcare industry, right? If they're here, let's work together to find them a home and keep them here. That's going to affect Local 400 members both directly if they become a member and then indirectly if they're working and staying in the community, even if it's for one of our customers or end users. So it's kind of an all the above approach.
So if you were going to talk to a young adult looking for a career path or someone that has been in the workforce for numerous years who is looking to do something different, what would you say? What would you tell them that would encourage them to consider Local 400?
Yeah, good question, Rick. So I'm thinking about it a couple different ways here. I'm going to go with the individual who maybe doesn't know anything about us and is looking for something to do as a 18 or 19, 20-year-old just out of high school, doesn't really know which direction to go. And not that we have anything against four-year universities or college programs. We certainly need them. They've been around. But if somebody's looking for literally an all-expense paid college tuition, Local 400 might be an avenue for them if they're willing to work in the construction industry, whether it's plumbing, pipe fitting, welding, or HVAC service. Again, that contractor is going to pick up the tab for them. They're going to earn while they learn, Rick. That's part of the apprenticeship program. So when they come to our place for day school, they're getting paid the same wage benefit package to sit in the classroom and learn their trade as they would be out on the job site. So not only are they not going into debt by having to pay for that schooling, they're earning a livable wage, not only when they're at the job site, but when they're also in the classroom. So marrying those up together. So not going into debt, not only breaking even, but again, earning that annual income going forward for they themselves, spouses, and families to live off of throughout their career.
And so I've known you for a while, Dustin, and I know you're really committed to what you do. And so what motivates you? Where's that passion come from in doing what you do?
The passion, I guess, comes from, Rick, I have 2,500 different bosses that I'm working for. And so it's not just about me day in and day out. It's about the longevity of UA Local 400. A lot of people worked really hard to get where we're at today. I was considered to pass the baton off to, and I'm hoping to leave it in a little bit different, little bit better situation. little different situation, as progressive as possible. And what I mean by that is, and Terry mentioned and asked it before, we're net growing our membership, Rick. So we're beating out the retirees and those leaving Local 400 on their own. We're net growing the local membership wise. We're net growing the local by other non-union contractors becoming a Local 400 union contractor, which creates more work opportunities for our members. So again, it's all about having a place to go to work for current and future members, partnering up with different clients, customers, and end users to try and open up those doors and windows for our contractors. They're the ones bidding and estimating those projects, which then in turn creates work opportunities for our members. So again, it's looking prospectively. I'm a small piece of this thing, and how do we leave it better than we found it?
Who do you look to? Who have you worked with in the past that has really guided you and directed you and made, really altered your career path at Local 400?
Good question. So for those listeners out there, I am a second generation steam fitter by trade. So my dad retired in, I believe it was late summer of 2018. And I didn't necessarily get into the trade because of him or what he was doing at the time. But helping to grow that membership there, I worked for a variety of different foremen along the way, Rick, who took the time to show me not only the trade, how to do it correctly, some of the things not to do, of course, kept me safe. And so some of those foremen and my dad they're already retired, but they're the ones, again, that have had that impact on me, as well as a variety of different instructors at Local 400, too many to name. But again, they paid it forward. They passed it down with the same goal in mind. How do we make it more robust? How do we make it better? Do things differently, be open-minded enough to move this thing forward.
From my background, I had a father who was in the skilled trades and moved into a management role later in his career. Why did you decide to stop being the hands-on guy out in the field working and move into more of a managerial, administrative type of role?
That's a really great question, Terry. And so at the time, my role back in summer of 2019, it was actually a brand new role, Terry. No one had ever done it before. Surprisingly, I was picked to be the one. Naturally, I accepted that offer, but it was a way for me to kind of mold and shape this position, Terry, into what I thought it could be. And I'm still working on it. I'm not there yet. And I'll continue to work on it until either I don't get reelected or I hit retirement. But it was that there's kind of think of a three-legged stool. So I'm working in kind of the political and legislative affairs arena on any given day. I'm doing organizing and recruitment of new members and contractors on any given day. And then part of the reason why I'm on this show is business development. And so that can be meeting with area end users, customers, clients, chambers of commerces, you name it, whether it's city council board members, county board members. And I just thought it was too good of an opportunity, Terry, at the time to pass up. Like I say, nobody handed me a binder that full of business cards or the do's and don'ts of the position. It was a way for me to start with a clean slate and see what the position could grow and morph into.
So do you ever go home on a Friday night and feel like I need to build something? I have to make something now.
Yeah, I would say every Friday night and other weeknights on top of that, Terry. Yeah, I mean, I miss working with the tools. I miss, physically maybe building something or welding something together. You can actually see that piece or project being built. But most of all, Terry, is the camaraderie with the members. The men and women out on the job site every day, whether it's a Local 400 member or another trade, general contractor, being in front of that end user. Sometimes you're working right alongside some of the maintenance and facility staff at some of these plants and end users. So you're getting to show them, work with them, help them out. Those are some of the things I miss most, Terry, about not being in the field.
What advice would you give to someone that's just completed their education and is really hitting that 5-year window and is about to really just have their career path take off? What advice would you give them?
Don't stop learning. Continue to use that training center that they're currently a part of. Like I say, that every member is part owner of that facility, Rick. And so just because they're coming up on that 5-year apprenticeship completing, that doesn't have to be the end of the training, the certifications. Kind of how it works at Local 400 really quickly is the more certifications that a member can have, that makes them that much more employable to their contractor and then to the end user. So yeah, I won't say anybody can make it through an apprenticeship, but those that get more training, more certifications, they become more diversified. They're the ones that maybe get a little bit more overtime, or they're the ones that stay on staff a little bit longer. So use that training center to the best of your ability, because not only do you own it, but you're paying for it at the same time. So that's kind of the messaging we kind of send them off with is, don't forget about us. We're still here to help you out, and you can make yourself better at the same time.
Okay, we're at the point for our last break. You've been listening to Biz Talk with Score on WHBY, and we'll be right back after this. Welcome back to Biz Talk. I would like to thank the sponsors and donors who bring Biz Talk with Score to you each weekend. We couldn't present this show without their generous support. Thank you to Hailing & Associates. Hailing & Associates helps small businesses and individuals not just prepare tax returns, but plan for taxes, thereby helping you minimize taxes for this year and beyond. Hailing & Associates, personal connection, positive results. A special thank you to the Business News for promoting our program in the biweekly business newspaper serving Northeast Wisconsin. If you aren't already subscribing to the Business News, you should. The paper is delivered biweekly and contains relevant and useful information about the business community in Northeast Wisconsin. We would also like to recognize the David L. and Rita E. Nelson Fund within the Community Foundation for the Fox Valley region for their generous donation of support of Biz Talk and Score Fox Cities. So thanks again to our sponsors. Now, Dustin, as we wrap up the show, could you let our listeners know how they can connect with you and Local 400?
Absolutely, Terry. So, again, we're located in Kaukauna, Wisconsin, right off Highway 41. The address is 2700 North Ridge Drive. We have our building staffed every weekday from 7:30 to 4:30, so feel free to stop in. We typically have someone available if you're interested in a tour, sitting down to learn more about our career opportunities, to meet with you in person. So that's one avenue. Picking up the phone is another. Jumping on our landing page and our website, so you can go to ua400.org. Different drop-down tabs on there full of information, how to apply, how to get in, different industries we work in on any given day, as well as a variety of social media platforms, Terry. So LinkedIn, Facebook, to name a few, so you can catch us on there. We're pretty active, mostly on Facebook, advertising about different work anniversaries, project coming up, apprenticeships and the likes. So just a few different ways there that you can get in touch with Local 400.
Okay. So what do you see for the future of the union and the union members?
Another good question, Terry. So what I've been telling folks lately for the last few years, that's what I mean by lately, is there's never been a better time, Terry, to get into the building trades industry, whether it's, again, plumbing, pipe fitting, pipe welding, marine work, service technician work for heating, ventilating. We've seen a robust industry for the last few years. The rest of 2024 looks strong, and into 2025. And again, that earn while you learn, all expense paid, college tuition and apprenticeship that's sanctioned with the Wisconsin DWD. There really has never been a better time. There's a lot of construction work going on currently in Northeast Wisconsin. We have the fabrication industry, and that's fabricating pipe, skids, hangers, brackets, and supports here in Local 400. That's being shipped not only all over Wisconsin, the Midwest, the country, but that's a global market as well. And so there's a lot of work opportunities currently. We have some open manpower calls right now. So by all means, if you're listening to the program, get in touch with UA Local 400, and we'll see if there's some avenues that we can get you employed by one of our contractors and put you to work.
So as you look back over your career, was this anything you expected, or it just turned out a lot different than what you had thought of?
A little bit of each, Terry. Growing up in a construction or a building trades household, I kind of knew about the construction trade a little bit from the standpoint of the type of hours worked, the type of conditions, dusty, dirty, hot, sweaty, etc. So that part really didn't surprise me, but the part that has kind of taken me back a little bit is everything that we do as a local union, whether it's with end users, customers, being involved in the community, different volunteer programs, Terry, that we get into. That's what's really opened my eyes about being not only a union member, but a part of UA Local 400.
Excellent. And Dustin, thank you again for being on the show. It was really interesting to hear about this union that's a partner with their members and with the area and with the businesses in the area. It's a great story.
Thank you, Terry and Rick. I appreciate it.
Okay. And thank you, listeners. You've been listening to Biz Talk with Score on WHBY. If you want to listen to this show again, you'll find it on our website, Biz Talk with Score, later next week. You can also pick us up on various podcast platforms later next week. We really appreciate you listening in though. Thanks, and we'll talk to everybody again next week. Have a great week, everybody. Bye.